Okay, let's take a look at the guests we have for this conversation tonight. We have Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin. She's a spokesperson for the Karnataka BJP. Good evening, ma'am. We have Bhavya Narasimhamurthy, a spokesperson for the Karnataka Congress. Good morning, ma'am. And good evening, ma'am. And we also have the professor from the Institute for Social and Economic Change, ISEC in Bengaluru. He's also with us. This is Professor Chandan Gowda. Good evening, sir. All right. Before we go ahead, sirs, ma'am, I'd like to make it very clear. My hope with our discussion, I don't want our audiences to get lost in the numbers. It's easy sometimes in these conversations to throw numbers and lose out the point we're trying to make. Professor, I'm going to come to you with my first question. We know initially you had the Finance Secretary say essentially that the Gruha Lakshmi, which is one of the 5 promises, that in particular, but the other 4 promises too, all of them would cause an immense burden to the state exchequer. Essentially, what the BJP seemed to feel also was that the money doesn't exist. Now, DK Shivkumar has come out in a statement after. You've actually had a number of other Congress leaders come out since and clarify that, look, the money does exist if you shift it out of other places. Our reporters say that the money that was meant for the infrastructure has been shifted in Bangalore infrastructure in specific. Other reporters point out that money that was meant for SC/ST communities, schemes for them, that's been shifted. Sir, I just want to ask you, as someone with a keen economic eye, tell us, is that how it works? Is it indeed that simple? You shift money out from one place and you make money in the budget for other things? And do you see this as something that is financially viable? What's your perspective?
The budget and the allocation for the schemes was done in consultation with the finance department. I remember the chief minister having a series of meetings with them to work out how best to proceed. And the scheme you referred to, the 2,000 rupees a month as stipend for women-headed households, the finance department actually suggested 13 categories to apply before anyone becomes eligible, and that actually shrunk the pool of recipients. So it's not that the government is acting independently of the finance department. There is consultation on an active basis. And the bit about Bangalore infrastructure being very short-changed, I don't think is correct, because Bangalore has almost got 40,000 crores, out of which 30,000 is for the metro. No, 30,000 crores. So I don't think that claim is correct. But the fact is, the entire 5 schemes will not likely exceed more than 16% of the budget. I know you didn't want numbers, but there's no other way.
No, do go ahead with numbers. I just don't want us to lose audiences, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this 16%, it means 84% is left for other things. The rains happened, the relief was immediately announced. So I don't see it as something that is put the government's financial plans out of gear. Someone who mentioned in the beginning of the program that the previous government has incurred a huge, expense on lots of contracts, and that is something the government is also committed to working with. That's 2.5 lakh crore projects, actually. They're trying to see what the genuine costing is, etc., etc. But I feel that the government schemes, whatever the election planning may have been, the schemes in themselves are being welcomed by the recipients, and I don't think it is throwing things out of gear. And I really feel we ought to hold off for at least a few months before trying to judge the effectivity of these schemes and what it means for the running of the day-to-day administration in other departments.
Okay. So I know the perspective you provided was an analytical one, not political, but I'm still going to go over to the BJP spokesperson who's with us, Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin, and ask her, ma'am, we've heard from sir right now. He's essentially saying, give them a chance to implement it. Let's see how it plays out. Then let's comment. Ma'am, why doesn't the BJP do that in the state?
First of all, I would like to say the fact that ever since the Congress government came to power, it has always been mired with the controversies. Now it is a term with respect to Gruha Lakshmi Yojana. The Congress government seems to have a myopic vision about the fiscal prudence of our economy, our state economy, which is the basic tenet of for any economy to thrive well, and which is the utmost requirement for any economy to be sustainable. Now, despite given the warnings given by the finance department for implementing Gruha Lakshmi Yojana, that is, huge amounts of funds are required, and that's not possible under this juncture and in this scenario. They don't have bothering about the fiscal prudence. They are in the hurry to take our economy to fiscal bankruptcy. Now, with the implementation of Gruha Jyoti Yojana, they've already increased the electrical tariff that has already started disincentivizing small and medium scale industries, which is the requirement for the manufacturing sector that will erase the manufacturing sector. That has already started erasing the manufacturing sector because electric tariff being the major raw material for any small and medium economy to be thrive well. With the improvement under our government, BJP government, with the advent of the new manufacturing policy and with the congenial atmosphere for the ease of doing business, with the congenial atmosphere for the FDI, foreign direct investment and foreign institutional investment, we have achieved maximum manufacturing activity, and that has improved the manufacturing base, that has helped us to improve the employment rate
Okay.
and to increase
Ma'am,
the economical activity. But with the Congress government, with the advent of the Congress government, we've already entered the vicious cycle that is decreasing the economical activity, increasing the inflation, decreasing the employment rate,
Ma'am,
decreasing the
sorry, I
economic
do need to
activity.
ask,
We are
what do you
already
mean when you say that these promises will decrease economic activity? You've given one example, but I feel like that's such a broad stroke statement. Could you qualify it, please? Give us more in terms of context.
if we spend more amount of money which is allocated in the budget for one scheme, what will they do for another schemes, for other welfareistic schemes? Doing the freebase politics. We believed
Okay.
in self-reliance. Just by giving 2,000 rupees for one household doesn't decrease the poverty rate.
All
In
right.
fact, they are pushing them to perpetual poverty.
Dr. Ashwin, and I'd just like to ask you to stay with us. Let's go over to
Perpetual
Ms.
poverty.
Narasimha
We
Murthy, who's
believed
with
in
us.
self-reliance. That
Ma'am,
is
let me get a Congress
Atman.
response to what you just said. Bhavya, do you want to go ahead, please?
So the Griha Lakshmi Yojana, first of all, this was promised to the state of Karnataka and our voters only because of the previous BJP government and their the corruption field, which had pushed the people of Karnataka to the brink of poverty. When it comes to development, don't you think this improving the standard of living of people comes up the topmost priority? This was the complete intention behind Griha Lakshmi Yojana. Yes, we already knew that there will be budget constraints in this. The Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has presented 13 budgets so far, and and so far he has never violated any of the conditions of FRBM Act. But this time, yes, still we have fulfilled two conditions of this FRBM Act, which was not even respected under the BJP's regime. When it comes to economics, yes, this time Griha Lakshmi Yojana, I'm not denying this will be a burden on the state's exchequer, but this is like an investment. And like the economic expert here, he said, we should be given a chance to prove ourselves. And BJP has this urgency, in attacking Congress in every way possible. They're so aimless and directionless that without any argument, they place this, and all of a sudden there will be, they'll have this tongue in the cheek movement. Whether it was our guarantees, implementation to the budget, where they didn't even have an opposition to even discuss the budget in the assembly, to now starting a discussion of KMF saying we stopped supplying KMF Nandini ghee to Tirupati, and it happened that for the past 1.5 years when BJP was in power also they were not supplying the same, and they had not applied for the tender. So BJP is having this tongue in the cheek movement every time because they're aimlessly and directionlessly attacking Congress.